It started with an argument. The arguments continued, growing in intensity and bitterness with each passing day. The words, once so careful and gentle, were now weapons. One evening, after a long and painful argument about a past-due electricity bill, Apata looked at his wife, his mind clouded by frustration and shame. He saw her face, twisted in anger, and the words just slipped out. "You are acting insane," he said, his voice cold and cutting. "Like a mad person." The words hit her like a physical blow. She stood still, her body rigid, her mind reeling. He had called her mad. The shame, the pain, the anger from his past abuse came flooding back. She recalled the cruel words and the public humiliation she endured for 6 months. The laughter of the neighbors, the pity in their eyes. It all came back in a single painful wave, washing away the years of healing. Her heart pounded, filled with a vengeful fire. She had endured his shame. Now he would endure hers. Her mind raced back to that time, to the public mockery she had to endure. She knew in that moment what she had to do. Not to help but to hurt. She wanted to hurt him as he had hurt her, to expose his shame to the world. Out of a profound, raw frustration, she went to their bedroom. She did not pack clothes. She did not pack a bag. She grabbed their mattress and her pillow, and with a surprising, almost maniacal strength, she began to drag them toward the front door. Apata, watching her, was stunned. He tried to stop her, to reason with her, but she was a woman on a mission, her eyes burning with a single consuming purpose. "Don't touch me," she said, her voice a low, dangerous whisper. "You will see." She walked right out of the house, lugging a mattress with all her strength, and headed directly for the market. She did not stop to talk to anyone. She did not look at anyone. Her neighbors watched, their faces filled with shock and confusion, as she dragged the familiar mattress down the dirt path. They shouted her name, but she was deaf to their pleas. Her only destination was the very center of the bustling marketplace, the heart of their community. The market, alive with the shouts of traders and the haggling of customers, fell into a stunned silence as she arrived. With a powerful final act of defiance, she laid the mattress and pillow down on the ground. She sat on the mattress, her face a blank mask, her eyes staring into the distance. She looked as though she was at home, ready for a peaceful nap, in the middle of 100 curious eyes. The crowd began to grow. People tried to talk to her, to help her, but she ignored them. She simply sat there, a silent statue in the middle of the chaos. The market women whispered. The men shook their heads. They all came to the same conclusion. She had gone mad. But she knew what she was doing. She wanted her husband to feel the shame she had felt for 6 months. She wanted him to be publicly humiliated, to feel the mockery of the village. The crowd grew bigger and bigger. The people, worried and confused, began to call his name. "Apata! Apata!" They yelled. One of them found him at home, the children by his side, their faces filled with fear. When he heard what had happened, his blood ran cold. He grabbed his children by the hand and raced toward the market. He arrived at the market, pushing his way through the crowd, and found her sitting there, on the mattress, in the very middle of it all. His own shame, which he had long buried, came rushing back in a single painful wave. The public reckoning and the professor's intervention. Apata pushed his way through, his face a mask of shock and disbelief. He saw his wife in the middle of it all, a silent statue of defiance. His children, seeing their mother on the ground, ran to her, their small faces filled with confusion and fear. But she did not even turn to them. Her eyes were fixed on Apata, a look of cold, grim satisfaction on her face. Her goal was to make him feel the full weight of the public shame she had carried. He knelt before her, begging her, his voice a desperate whisper. "Woman, what are you doing? Please let us go home. Our children are here." She slowly rose to her feet, her eyes never leaving his. He grabbed her arm to pull her up, and she came willingly, a sinister smile on her face. As they walked away from the crowd, a collective sigh of relief went through the onlookers. But just as they reached the edge of the market, she stopped. Without a word, she reached for a large can of red oil sitting on a nearby trader's table. Before anyone could react, she had grabbed it. The trader yelled in protest, but it was too late. With a powerful, almost deliberate motion, she uncorked the can and, with a ferocious yell, poured its entire contents directly over her husband's crisp white shirt. The crowd gasped. The vibrant, oily red liquid soaked through his white shirt, staining him from his head to his toes. It ran down his face, blinding him, and dripped onto the ground. The children screamed, their little hands clutching at their faces as they watched their father, once again, become a public spectacle. The smell of the oil filled the air. This was beyond an argument. This was an act of complete public humiliation. Just as the crowd began to murmur in disbelief, a man in a crisp suit, with kind eyes and a calm demeanor, stepped forward. He was a professor of psychology at the local university, a man known for his wisdom and gentle spirit. He walked through the shocked onlookers and stood between Apata and his wife. "My friends," he said, his voice calm and clear, "this is not madness. This is a cry for help. A cry that has been buried for a long, long time." He turned to the wife. "Tell me, my daughter," he asked, his voice gentle, "what do you truly want right now? Forget the oil. Forget the people. What is it that you truly need from this moment?" She looked at him, her eyes filled with tears she had been holding back for so long. She pointed at her husband. "He called me mad," she said, her voice a raw whisper. "He called me insane. After all I went through, he used my pain against me. I just want him to tell everyone that I am not mad, that I am sane. He needs to tell them that I am not mad." The professor turned to Apata. "My brother, do you see? This is not about the job. This is not about the money. This is about a word that has the power to destroy everything you have built. The path back to your home, to your wife, to your peace is through this. You must do what she asks. You must say the words." Apata stood there, a man soaked in oil and shame. He looked at his wife, at the crowd, at his sobbing children. He took a deep breath. He had a choice. He could let his pride win, or he could save what was left of his family. He lifted his hands to the crowd, the oil dripping from his fingertips. "My people," he yelled, his voice cracking with emotion. "Please, I apologize. I am very, very sorry for my words. My wife is not mad. She is not insane. She is a good woman. Problem is me. I am the problem. I apologize for my words. She is not mad." A quiet hush fell over the crowd. The professor nodded slowly, a look of profound satisfaction on his face. He turned to Apata, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Now, my son," he said, "listen to me. You must not manage her as a wife, but as a child. A child who has been hurt. Child who is afraid. You must love her, even when she is unlovable. You must listen to her, even when her words are filled with poison. You must be her strength, even when she acts as if she hates you. Only then will you earn her trust back. The aftermath and the unveiling of the secret. As the professor spoke, the wife, who had been standing rigid, began to sway. Her face, once filled with rage, now looked pale and drawn. She slumped to the ground, her body going limp. The crowd gasped. An ambulance was called, and she was rushed to the hospital. The mattress and the pillow she had dragged to the market were still on the side of the road. Apata, still soaked in red oil, his clothes stained and ruined, did not change. He stayed by her side, sleeping on a chair in the hospital overnight. The doctor said she had a heart attack, the stress and trauma of the day's events having put an immense strain on her heart. The condition was terrible, but she was a fighter. She responded to treatment and was discharged 2 days later. When they got home, they remembered the mattress. Going back to the road, they found that it and the pillow had been stolen. They had nothing to sleep on. For months, they slept on the cold floor, the physical discomfort a constant reminder of the pain they had caused each other. Slowly, piece by piece, they rebuilt their lives. They had survived not just the scandal but a deeper, more fundamental crisis. They finally had enough money to buy a new mattress. Now they are okay. They are two people who have been through the fire and emerged changed. They advise people to listen, to speak with love, and to remember that actions have consequences. They warn people that the decisions you make today will always come back to you, good or bad. But that was just the beginning. The wife's old friend, Mama Beezy, came to visit. She hugged her and gave her a piece of advice. "My sister," she said, "I have seen the way he looks at his phone. There is something he is hiding from you. You must watch him. You must be careful. He is keeping a secret." The wife, already on guard from her ordeal, began to notice small things. Apata would get a phone call and step outside to talk. He would delete his call history. He would come home with a sad look on his face, a look she thought was from his job loss. But could it be something else? Could he have been lying to her? She decided to confront him. One evening, after the children were asleep, she asked him, her voice low, "Apata, are you hiding something from me? Is there something you are not telling me?" He denied it, but she saw the fear in his eyes. She knew. The next day, she found a paper in his old work bag. It was a termination letter. It stated that he had been fired for something he had done, for something that had put the company in a bad place. He had not been laid off. He had been a fraud, and he had been fired. The truth hit her like a punch to the gut. The man she had just publicly apologized for, the man she had just gone to the hospital for, had lied to her. It was not a job loss. It was an act of betrayal. She had just found out that he was in fact a thief and had been arrested before. It was a deep secret he had been keeping, a dark stain from his past. The final reckoning and the wisdom gained. The new confrontation was not public. It was a quiet, private storm that raged between them. She did not yell. She did not pour red oil on him. She simply looked at him, her eyes filled with a deep, crushing disappointment. "You lied to me," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "You let me believe you were a victim of the economy. You let me believe we were struggling for a good cause. You let me bring shame on our family because you were too proud to tell me the truth. You are not just a failure. You are a liar." Apata, his head hung low, had nothing to say. He knew she was right. He knew he had to tell her the truth. He confessed everything. He confessed that he was a thief and had been arrested before. It had been his shame that had driven him to lie. He was so ashamed of his past that he couldn't tell her. He was so ashamed that he had almost ruined their family again. The wife, seeing him in a way she had never seen him before, a completely vulnerable and broken man, felt her anger slowly leave her. The man who had been a drunk, a man who had lain in the mud, a man who had lied to her. He was still the man she loved. She saw the fear in his eyes, the same fear she had seen in her children's faces when they were hungry. She realized that he was a man who had been hurt, a man who had been running from his past. They talked for hours. They talked about the shame, the fear, the secrets they had kept from each other. They talked about what it would take for them to truly heal. It was a slow, painful process, but it was a necessary one. They had to rebuild their love on the foundation of honesty, not just with each other but with themselves. They are now a living testament to the power of love and forgiveness. They give advice to people, and their words are filled with the wisdom of their journey. "You must tell the truth," Apata says, his voice now strong and clear. "The lie will always find you. It will always come back to haunt you. The truth is painful, but the lie will destroy you. Be honest with yourself and your loved ones, even if it hurts." "You must listen," his wife says, her voice full of a wisdom that comes from a deep, painful place. "The anger you feel is a sign of a deeper hurt. Don't act on your anger. Listen to the pain. Listen to your partner. If you can understand the wound, you can help them heal." Their story is a warning. It is a reminder that the decisions we make today will always come back to us, good or bad. It is a reminder that the past is a powerful thing, a thing that will always come back to haunt you unless you deal with it. But this is not the end of the story. Someone else is keeping a secret that will unravel everything they have built. We will bring this to your attention in the next part of the story. Do not miss it. Like this story, subscribe to this channel and share it with your friends so they can hear what happens next.